Hello, everybody. I'm Karen,
And I'm Mae.
and we are from
Boomers to Gen Z.
So today we're going to talk about
We're going to talk about the inner critic and taking accountability.
what does that mean. So don't go away.
Speak to you soon.
So tell me.
Recently, I've come across this term of inner critic, inner cheerleader. The inner critic is the one that's like telling you like, oh no, you can't do this, you shouldn't do that, you don't fit in, oh no, you're not good enough. And then the inner cheerleader is the one who's like, oh yeah, you can do it, you can do everything. Within people, like there's these two voices all the time, you know? There's this really big misconception about the inner critic, where like, you know, people feel like, oh, my family background is not so good, like my mom and dad were not like the best of parents, so because of these reasons, either I don't want to be a mom, I don't want to have a family, or I would be a bad one. And if I am a bad one, oh, it makes sense. Because that sense of like inner critic, I don't think that it's being used correctly. People are just using it as a reason to blame their bad actions instead of taking accountability. That's really, really worrying, especially with like the younger generation, Gen Z. We blame the boomers a lot for a lot of things, and then we just don't bother anymore. Like, we don't take accountability, we don't try and change things. We're constantly just stuck in this loop of like, oh, you guys did it also.
Right.
And we're not able to break out of that. Have you guys ever come across like an adult and you're like, oh, this adult is so childish? Because this adult is always blaming everyone for their actions. And as we get older, if we do not break out of this, we're going to become very sad people, because when you start running out of reasons to blame, you're just going to be very, very unhappy, because you're externalizing the way to sort of like recover from this. You're giving it control externally instead of like harnessing the control internally. Do you resonate with this?
Definitely. Over my 55 years of observing and living, right? Human nature, our instinctive behavior is to protect ourselves. And in order to protect, we first off, we because we want to protect ourselves, we will try not to challenge ourselves. So we find reasons to substantiate why we shouldn't do something. That is just human psychology. Let's say I want to take up paragliding, for instance, and I have a fear of heights, know, but you will find excuses, oh, why I shouldn't go there, because maybe the companies that are running it is not safe, or human nature is like that. Just every reason to protect you. That is how the brain functions. And you are so right that successful people and non-successful people in life is because of how they perceive their scenario, their history. So you remember the saying that don't let the past define you, but create your new future. For many, many years, I have a huge grudge and anger towards somebody. My mom was not there for me during my growing up years. For many years, when I had my first child, and I said to myself that I need to forgive because she didn't know better. It was also her upbringing and she didn't know better. So I have forgiven and I looked beyond that. But I saw that I will learn from that I will not be that kind of mother.
That's the turn that a lot of people don't take, and it's really surprising. It's been ringing in my head the past week, Karen. A lot of people, like again, like my age, they just don't seem to see it that way. Like, if you hate something or someone so much and you focus all of your energy into that, you actually will very subconsciously start doing those things.
Yes.
Because you're focusing all your energy on it. Of course, you're going to start mirroring these things. Like, what you did is that you became more like aware of it. So you're able to like catch yourself, or like just really do the reverse, you know?
Yeah, I was so determined that I said I was making sure that I read enough, learn enough from my having a mentor is very important. So like you take the focus, say I like the way that person mothers her child, and that's what I want to be, that strive to be. So that's where I started to focus on, because I know I can't change my mother's history and how she was, and it's no fault of hers, but it was up to me to make that change, because I knew I did not want to be like her as a mother. It's about how much you want that change.
Mm.
Because if your why is very strong and you are determined to change that situation, it's a compelling why, you do anything and everything to make that change. So like for me, my why was very strong. It was my children, and
Mm.
I want a healthy, loving relationship with my children. So I will do anything, even if it means changing how I speak, changing how I think or judge.
And I think that that's really important, because then when you get older, you're not able to blame. You can be happy, right? Like I yeah, like now you're in your 50s, and there's a sense of happiness because you're not holding on to anything. If she had realized that her relationship with her children was depleting, she would again still be in the loop of blaming her mom
Exactly.
earlier.
And I want to say about what you say about hate, right? One thing I of course in life you will have issues or people you dislike or people who have betrayed you or things like that. Think about this guys. When you hate someone, the energy that you put on in that hate is actually more than the happiness. There's a story where two monks were crossing this river, and then there was a crocodile or something that were attacking them, and they had to let go of the food to chase this crocodile away. And then when they crossed this river, one of them was still angry because they had no more food
Mm.
and things like that. But the other one says, why are you still carrying it? It's the heaviness of carrying that anger and frustration across is so heavy. Might as well look for something new. Maybe there's a tree next door that you can eat something. Hate is such an emotion that if we carry it for too long, it it breeds disease.
Mm.
It breeds discontentment, and it's not that person who's going to get it. It's you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
decide: do you want to hate somebody forever?
Yeah, no, it's really not worth it. You have to move on. And the fact that they have consumed you so much, you've let them win.
Yeah.
Like, just let it go. Like, life is not always like butterflies and roses.
No.
In a lot of psychology pages, like therapist pages, they always say, like, oh, your childhood trauma led you to this, so now you're like this. I know that they're saying it in that way. You have to also remember these pages are trying to get likes and comments. So when you relate to that content, that's what they want. But
Right.
when you read it, don't use that even as an excuse and be like, oh, that makes sense. No wonder I can't tell the truth because I was never able to tell the truth. Like, you shouldn't do that. Instead, you be aware of it and then you catch yourself doing it instead of validating why you can still keep doing
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
If you think that there's something you've been through, like everyone's kind of gone through something. Can you imagine if the whole world was just like blaming and victimizing? I don't think that we would have many successful people. And now,
Yeah. Exactly.
like,
I absolutely love Oprah.
it really
Yeah.
does.
She was abused. She was raped. She was poor. That poverty that she had was so extreme,
Mm.
and yet she's able to tap into her inner self. She had mentors that she looked up to and she aspired to be, and she was able to actually let go and move beyond that. And her goal was just to say, follow her calling, and just be motivated to make that change for herself.
Mm.
Now, I think that's so powerful, and I think we live in this world, right, where it's so easy to blame somebody.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
just too easy. And instead of taking accountability on what is your role in that situation or what is your role that you can make those changes is actually more important. So I hope that helps with getting your friends to change their
Yeah,
mindset.
change the narrative, like just rewrite it. When you're a child, you don't have the resources to sort of like set a boundary per se. Like, there's gonna be like, oh, my house, my rules kind of thing. But now that you're older, like, you can start to voice out things a little bit more. For those of you who still live at home with your parents, if you feel very suffocated, maybe try having like an open conversation. See how bad can it get.
Yeah.
At least you tried, and don't do it in an emotional way, but do it in a factual way. Take that time, I think, to be emotional. Have a good cry if you feel overwhelmed or you're
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah. Take a moment to emotionally wash out all
Go
that.
nuts.
Yeah. And then come back and say, okay, what can I do?
Yeah.
And then take those mini steps. I mean, you don't expect big leaps and bounds and changes, but it everything takes time. And the problem is that people today, they want everything instant.
Yeah.
And
no medicine for this.
everyone wants everything really fast, change fast, money fast. Because I trade for a living, and I find that the best way of actually making money is a long-term strategy, and building relationship is also a long-term thing. It takes effort. What is your role? How did you play into that relationship instead of blaming that person all the time? Because maybe you say things that are so mean that you
Get that reaction.
that's something all learning, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. In the new year now, if you're listening, right, like about situations maybe that you're struggling with or that you notice a friend struggling with, I think that a lot of us are stuck in this loop, and I think together we could break out of it. For
Correct.
both the boomers and the Gen Z,
Exactly.
it's something that we all have to do. It's not just one generation.
And for the boomers, don't say I'm too old for this. You're not too old for this. I mean, I do it too.
They're finding excuses.
Exactly. Hope you enjoy our conversation today. Don't forget, please make comments, like, subscribe, and follow us. Tell us what your more conversation like you'd like to hear from us. You want to do the legal note?
All of this is for entertainment purposes only. These are just our opinions. We're just having a good time in a chat. So that's just a disclaimer. And I guess we'll see you in the next episode.